Hello, my dears. Daniela here, and welcome to the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. This episode is brought to you by Addo Aesthetics, the #1 coaching company for aesthetic professionals wanting to step into the role of spa CEO. And my dears, today we have an episode that could literally change your life. So I want you to really make sure that you're listening to this one because we're talking about money, we're talking about pay, and I just want to share this incredible system that has allowed me to double what I am paying myself. We'll get into that, right? So you're going to hear me share the story right in the beginning of the episode with Nicole Cooley. She is a money expert. But many of you know this year for me, just to back up a minute, it's been all about health. 2022 is the year of health, right? So physical health, mental health, spiritual health, financial health. I'm really breaking health down into those 4 different areas because I think to have really a true holistic health, you need to look at all those different areas in your life. So I have different things that I'm working on in each of those 4 areas that I'm either fine-tuning or working to get better. So for physical health, I'm making sure that I move my body for 30 minutes every day. As you can likely hear, I am a bit congested today. I've got some kid cooties. My son is sick, but still, if it's a day like this, I'm stretching, right? I'm doing something that's going to move my body for 30 minutes a day. For my mental health, I'm getting much more firm in my boundaries. I'm getting much more comfortable saying no, both in my personal and professional life. For my spiritual health, I'm reading books and listening to podcasts like Oprah's Super Soul Sunday or Joel Osteen. And for my financial health, I'm really pushing myself to go even deeper with my numbers. I'm pushing myself to get clear on any blocks that I may have or limiting beliefs that I may have myself around money, and fine-tuning the systems around money and finance that I have in my business. And that is where Nicole comes in. So Nicole, our guest today, has developed a system of really understanding your numbers and where the money is going that is so visual. And it has completely changed my business and my life. As I mentioned just a second ago, I am now able to pay myself significantly more because I have such a deep understanding of what every single dollar in my business is doing. So I'm so thrilled to introduce you to her. I'm so thrilled to just share this system because it is my hope that every single one of you is paying yourself consistently, right? It's so much work that you do as an entrepreneur. You've got to get the reward of that money, right? Of paying yourself and rewarding yourself for the hard work that you're doing. All right, so enjoy this episode. And of course, tag us in the Facebook group if you have any questions. All right, let's go ahead and play it. All right, Nicole, welcome to the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. This is going to be one of my favorite episodes. I know. I can already say it.
I'm so excited to be here. Yeah, let's talk about money.
All right. So something that is and has been incredibly important for me, just in general, in a big picture life kind of way, is that women are actually paying themselves. And, there's a big issue around women being paid equally as men. But what I see so much in businesses is women are putting everyone else. They're not comfortable with their numbers. They want to make sure their team gets paid, all of these types of things. And they are the ones that are suffering. So they are the ones taking the risk to be the entrepreneur, all the things, and then they're not paying themselves, right?
Yeah.
It's a big, big problem.
It is.
And even for me, I took a long time to pay myself when I first started my business. I think maybe 2 years. And I was like, I'll pay myself $1,000 a month and that's going to be a big deal. But what you do, there's so much work around money mindset and all these kind of things. And we absolutely talk about that. But you have this incredible system that you have created using YNAB, which is a software that's out in the world. It's kind of profit first-esque, using those things. And I just want to, I know I'm like taking this whole intro, but I need to just share my story really quickly before we get into all these pieces. Because I want our listeners to understand just how powerful this is. So, I actually was connected with you through Jackie, who has long time done my ads. And she's like, you've got to meet Nicole. She is awesome. And so I said, okay, great. And we did a call. I was like, oh, I think I could use this in my business. And I actually identify as someone who's comfortable with numbers, who likes numbers, who is, I felt like I had been paying myself a great wage. Like I felt comfortable with how I was paying myself. And then you came into my life and put together this system inside of YNAB, which is essentially, it's like a $85 a year software or something like that.
It's like a budgeting software that we manipulate.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so not expensive at all to get this software. And because I am visual, and which is not always the case with people who like numbers and things like that, but I am a very visual person. And having the actual budgeted items and having an understanding of, yeah, that's my profit account, or yeah, that's my OPEX account, or that's my tax account, but actually knowing specifically in the operating expense, what has gone through and what hasn't.
Yeah.
I have such a detailed grasp on what my numbers are. I've been able to pay myself more than double what I was paying last year. And that is a huge testament to you. So I want everyone to, know that I think Nicole's awesome. But that at the end of the day, like having a clear system in place around your numbers, knowing that I've already got the money for this. I've already got the money for that. I'm sticking with my percentages. I'm staying at my 40% payroll, right? You have complete confidence in understanding, yep, that's for tax. Yep, I'm running a comfortable business and I do get to pay myself that. So that's what we want to talk about today, guys, is like the purpose of the system, all the stuff, because it has made such a tremendous difference in my business, in my life, that I want you guys to know that this is possible for you as well. So, okay, Nicole, where do you want to go from here?
Well, that's such a great, story. I didn't realize you, running a successful business, you were doing so many of the right things and it still benefited you in that way of doubling your pay. That's amazing. That makes me so happy.
Good.
But, I would say that I always say money is an art and a science, and the science is the system. It's knowing your numbers, it's getting in there and being engaged with it. But it is the art as well. And that's using your intuition, your gut feel, knowing how to break the rules when you need to, when it's right for your situation. But in order to do that and make those decisions, you really do need both pieces, right? You can't just be making gut decisions all the time without knowing what your numbers are. And on the flip side, you can't just know what your numbers are and be a robot in there, right? You have to understand what the numbers are telling you, how you're applying them to your own situation. And so it really always, for me, is this balance and of what are the rules and when do you break them for yourself?
Yeah. And I think Mike did a great job of, I've been a fan of Mike Michalowicz, who wrote the book Profit First. He's been on the podcast a couple of times. And I love his system, but there was always like one little piece that just didn't work for me because we have so many little charges that go through each month, and having the different bank accounts, like that was a huge step in the right direction. His book really kind of started the process for me in understanding how to navigate money. But where I was coming up with a block was I couldn't see in real time what has gone through, what hasn't. I mean, if I'm combing through my bank account, but I use my bank account, I use my credit card, I use all these different things. And then, like, has that gone through? What about my charges that are going through yearly? But am I budgeting for them monthly? There were these little pieces that just for my own business, because there's never going to be any one system that works perfectly for everybody.
Agree. Totally agree.
You've got to say, wow, this is such a brilliant concept. Thank you, Mike. I love this. How am I going to tweak it to make it work for my business and the way that my mind processes information? And I think that was the missing piece, was having you set up this YNAB software for me to be able to see. And now it's like, I'm in there every Monday. I do my financial routine. I go through, I check my credit card, my bank statements, I categorize, etc. And it's just amazing to know with full confidence. You never have that worry or anxiety of, am I going to make payroll, or am I going to do this, or has that come out yet, or when are quarterlies due? Like, it's just gone because I know what is there and what I'm anticipating. And I also know, can I afford this or can I not?
Exactly. And I think that we should back up and define what cash flow is. And so to me, cash flow is when you log it into your bank account and you think to yourself, what am I going to do with this money? And creating a plan for that and understanding where that money is going to go. That's cash flow. And it's different than doing an income statement or reports for your tax preparation. That's needed and that's great too. But that's looking backwards at what's already happened. And it's not helping you look forward, which is the planning piece of, what am I going to do with this money in my account right now? Where does it need to go? How much do I have left? All of those questions that we have. That's cash flow management. And it's so often a missing piece for business owners. It only takes a few things to go sideways at one time. And then maybe your money runs out. You feel like you're crazy, like you're not doing something right. And it's just because we can't keep track of all the stuff in our brains. We have to have a system to get all of these annual payments, monthly payments. I need to hire this person next month. All of that needs to get out of your head and into a system so you can see how it all shakes out with the money that you have.
Yeah. And it's like having a bookkeeper, having a CPA, essential. Like,
yes.
It is no question essential, but you're getting your reports, if you're even getting reports, because some people say, yeah, I have a bookkeeper, but they're never sending their monthly statements. You get them usually around the 10th or 15th of the month. And it can say, yeah, your net profit was X amount. And you're like, well, I don't have that amount in my bank account.
Exactly.
It's like on paper it looks great, but when I log into my bank account, there's clearly a disconnect.
Exactly.
And that's what this solves. And that is, it's so important to understand. I feel like there's three pieces. It's having your financial statements, understanding where you're at, having your CPA kind of help you with tax strategy, et cetera. Then I'm a big believer of the different bank accounts. I think that also was a huge piece for me and just separating that money out.
Yeah.
But then having the YNAB software with your system going through that is super clear on, okay, this is being budgeted, this is being planned. If you have a big promotion or an event that you're going to be spending more money on, start budgeting for it now. Yes. And pull that money, save $1,000 a month or $500 a month to put towards it, instead of all of a sudden, hey, I'm doing this event and I have no extra cash flow for it. It reduces the stress and anxiety so much of what so many business owners feel. And the big picture, you guys, is that you need to be paying yourself. This is not a hobby, right? We love what we do. We get to do an incredible job, but you need to pay yourself.
Yeah. And I would add on that too, because I see this a lot as well. I also fell into that bucket when I first started out of not paying myself right away. It's all of us. So you're not alone if that's you. But also I see people that overinvest or maybe spending too much on the operating expenses or think they need some other certification or coaching program before they feel validated to be able to pay themselves as the business owner. And looking at the numbers kind of helps you figure out if that's your root issue as well, because it'll show you if your operating expense level is too high. And that's where some of the numbers and the money mindset work kind of intersect, because if that's the case, then it's a conversation like, no, you're good. You're the business owner. You're doing it. You need to pay yourself now. Like, you know enough.
Yeah. And with spa, you guys, so the way like everybody's percentages are going to be a little bit different. I can tell you that you want your payroll to be 40% or less, no question. Like you don't want to have a higher than 40% payroll. There are moments in time, moments in growth periods, like say you're hiring a team and you need to get them trained before they start producing. That can be a risk that you're willing to take. For 90 days, your payroll is going to be over because they're not paying for themselves yet. But the in general rule is your 40% is going to be your payroll. For spa, I like to see operating expenses between 20 to 30%. Tax is almost always going to be around 15%. And then your profit is what is left over. And Mike also does it a little bit different. But for me, for spa and just for my own brain, you can break it down into percentages even further if you'd like. But my operating expense includes my marketing budget. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to say, here's my overall overhead, which includes my softwares, all of these different things, and marketing is in there as well. But have an understanding of what your percentages are and know that the big ones are going to be payroll, overhead, tax, and profit is what's left over. And you get to, as an owner, if you have a team, your payroll, you should be paying yourself as a employee if you're having employees. And then the owner distribution, you're taking out a profit. Okay. So that's how you're really managing those pieces. And when you simplify it in that way, it can be so just simple.
Simple. Yeah, I agree with all that. That's perfect. I would also add that, I've worked with a lot of people who haven't done the tax piece and come to me with IRS debt. And it's just a place that you don't want to be in. And if there's one thing that you can do today, if you don't have a separate tax account, just at least go get that. That would be the number one thing I recommend people do, and start putting that 15% of your revenue in there every month. For when you need to make that IRS payment. That to me is like the number one step, like the most important thing that you can do. You just don't want to mess with the IRS. Just reserve that money, give it to them so you can focus on your business.
So the other insight, the other like really valuable thing that you can see is if you're like, hey, where is all the money going? I'm great. I'm doing these percentages, but I don't have enough for payroll. I don't have enough to pay myself. I don't have enough. And that might be the case, right? There's always things that come up, but what this is going to do using a system like this is going to say, wow, your operating expenses are through the roof. So how do we adjust that to get you to where you actually can pay for yourself or pay yourself? Nicole, do you have any stories of clients that you've worked with or experiences that you've had or anything how do you solve problems like that? Where when someone comes to you, I have no idea, I haven't done anything with my numbers, I really want to pay myself. And then you find out, okay, here's where the problem is.
So a lot of the times in cases like that, where we can't just set what we want, the percentages we want from day one, we will kind of be able to see where we want to be, but then we need to take a closer look at where we are. And, that's something people can do after listening today too, is go back and figure out the percentage that you are currently paying yourself. If you don't have a system, you likely don't know if you're doing it kind of off the cuff. So it's really important to kind of go through and take stock of where you are, and then we can create a plan to get to where you need to be. And sometimes that takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. We need to make adjustments monthly and get those operating expenses down and get the payroll percentages up. And also I would add that just by doing a system like this and having everything laid out for operating expenses, there's so many other benefits to that. It makes it easier to see what you're spending your money on. And so often when people are starting in the system, they end up reducing their expenses just right off the bat because they're like, oh, I forgot about that. I just need to cancel that. I don't really need that anymore. Because when you see it laid out on the paper, with the dollar figures, you're like, yeah, I'm going to clean this up. So it's another benefit.
We actually, that just reminded me, we had a $700 a year software that we had paid an annual payment. We didn't use it anymore. I had forgotten to cancel it. I saw it in the software that we had laid out. And I messaged my ops manager and was like, do we use this anymore? And she said, nope. And so I went and canceled it and saved $700. Right. Yeah. And there's so many little things like that. Even these like $2-3 apps or whatever, there's so many little things that we're like, what is that?
Yeah. And it's impossible to keep track of in your head. If you're trying to, I call that mental accounting. It does not work. So when you see it laid out, you can automatically realize there's probably things you don't need. It also helps you keep an eye on for when things renew and they're maybe at a higher cost than they previously were. If you're not looking at it closely, that might again skip by, oh yeah, I recognize that software, but oh wait, now it's more expensive. So it gives you the opportunity to kind of go look into that, see if you can get that cost reduced when it might have just gone beneath your radar if you're not looking at it closely. And all that stuff adds up. It just really does. And
it's all the little things. It's never this one big glaring thing. It's all the little things.
And I always say to my clients too, like, I don't care what you're spending your money on. Everyone's going to spend money in different ways based on what their business looks like, what their value system is, all the different things. I don't want you to waste any money. We want to find all money that's being wasted and make sure that that's not happening, to keep it really tight. And it just makes it easier to do the numbers from there.
So can you just give a kind of in a nutshell overview of how you work with clients?
Yeah. So I really like to work with people to customize these systems based on their business type, what their percentages need to be, and all the things that we've talked about. So when I get started with my clients, we do an intake where I gather all the information that I need to start that customization process. And then we start to get the accounts hooked up and start to get the data rolling into the system, because you can tell me something, right? But we don't really know until the data starts to come in what your actual percentages are, if there's expenses in there that we have not accounted for. And so there's this period of about a month where we're just kind of letting those transactions filter in and looking at what the actual data is. We're in a data collecting period. And then once that has happened and we have about a month of solid data to see what your business looks like. And of course, we'll be talking, is this a normal month for you? Is this not a normal month for you? We'll understand that. But then we can make sure that like the percentages that I believe are the targets that you should be setting for yourself, are those going to work? Do we need to work towards those? Then we kind of create the plan going forward. So we need to see what's actually happening. We need to collect the data, and then we make the plan from there to see what adjustments we need to make to get you to your target goals and percentages.
Yeah, that's great. I just wanted to clarify, because I know when I came to you, I was like, here's my percentages. Here's what I want. Like I already had that stuff mapped out.
Yes, you did.
And you don't have to, right? You can.
No. No. And, that's part of the process is I'll probably have starting percentages that I will make an assumption is what you should be. But like, I don't really know until we gather your data as well. Like we take, like you said, industry into consideration, but, I need the data gathering period too, to see where you're at, to set the plan of how to get where I think we need to be. That's different for everyone. And that's the customization piece. And I think that's what is different in my coaching versus just like a book you can go get or a program that's really well known. When anything that's really well known in the finance world, it has to be simplified enough that it can be implemented on a bigger, nationwide or on a bigger scale. And I really like to get in there and customize it for each individual person to figure out what should this be for you, not just put you into a system, but like, what should your system be? And what should that look like for you?
Yeah, that's so important. And it's the thing, like, yeah, profit first is brilliant, right? Like Mike changed the landscape for entrepreneurs and he's done incredible things, but we have to adjust it based on what our business is and based on what stage of business we're in too, because there's different levels of profit, different levels of growth, different levels of like, depending on if you're in a year that you're doing a build out in a new location, your percentages are going to be very different than if you've been in the same, you own your building, you've been in the same location for, several years, right? Your numbers are going to look very different depending on what your actual goals are in the statements.
And I work with a lot of people too, where what their personal life looks like goes into their percentages sometimes as well. Like you're the business owner and there's sometimes a lot of intersection between the two. So sometimes with people, we have to spend some time separating that apart, the personal and the business. But sometimes personal circumstances will play into those percentages. If you're a single mom with a growing business, you might need to make that percentage that you're paying yourself higher, because that's what you need to do. And so that's part of the customization as well. Like it's you holistically, and what you need to do as the business owner.
I love that. Okay. So, anything else that you want to share before I ask you to share your links and all of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, there's one more thing I want to say to everyone, because people, I hear, I'm just not good at numbers. I'm not good with money. And I always like to tell people that everyone has a bad money habit. It's very normal. It's like the important part is to recognize like what your bad money habit is. And then when you do have a system, you can keep an eye on what your bad money habit is, whether it's not paying yourself, whether it's spending too much in the expenses, whether it's just not looking at your numbers. Like you can build your system to kind of take into account your bad money habit. I just think it's important to let everyone know and be transparent that like everyone has that. Everyone has money stuff. We just have to figure out a way to like work within what our natural tendencies are.
And the first step in solving these problems is just by knowing what's there, knowing what the problem is, acknowledging it, and just having a clear system in place, which I know you guys hear me talk about systems all the time, but that was a big focus for me this year is I really wanted to fine tune my financial system and fine tune financial health. So health for me was my big, whether it's physical health, mental health, spiritual health, financial health. I wanted to fine tune all of those systems because I think I've been doing well in them, but I want to be at that like excellent level. Yeah. And knowing what the issues are, knowing the things that are holding me back or limiting me, and then putting that system in place around it is that has been the key to everything. And look, just by me honing in, I'm seeing, oh, I actually do have the money that I can pay myself more. It's kind of fear that we want to like hoard this money and say, oh, can I afford it? Can I do it? Mm-hmm. I have a team. I need to make sure that I can have the money there to pay them. But knowing on such a granular level, wow, I actually can, and I can pay myself double.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it when my job is to tell people that they need to go spend money. That's so fun.
Very good. All right. So let everybody know where they can find you, follow you, get in touch with you.
Yeah, you can find me at Nicole-Cooley, COOLEY.com, or just shoot me an email at Nicole@Nicole-Cooley.com.
Perfect. We'll include those below this episode. You guys check it out. Check Nicole out. Follow her. Reach out. All the things. It was such a great decision on my part. And I know that only positive things could come out of you getting more clear on your numbers. All right. Thanks so much for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode.